The appropriations process, where Congress decides how much funding agencies will receive for the year, including Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, and Customs and Border Protection, CBP, is underway. The first draft of the appropriations bill for the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, which was released on June 4th, included some key improvements over the status quo. But the bill isn't perfect, and Democrats on the Appropriations Committee still need to hold strong to protect these gains and make key improvements. Now the fight will move to the full House, which has to act by September 30th to pass funding bills for the entire government. The appropriations process is our best chance to act to stop Trump's deportation machine. If you care about ending Trump's racist immigration policies, like separating, caging, and tear-gassing families, make a call today. Tell your member of Congress to cut funding for ICE and CBP and get rid of the slush fund that will allow ICE to continue terrorizing immigrant communities. What else should the Democratic House do? Don't pay Trump's ransom. Trump has been trying for 2 years to make extreme changes to our nation's immigration system that will reduce diversity and prevent families from being reunited. Democrats need to resist Trump's extortion efforts. How do we improve conditions for families? Immigrant families will continue to be in jeopardy as long as Trump is in the White House. The best we can do now, anyway, is to try to mitigate the harm his policies cause and push Democrats to use more of their power to hold Trump accountable. By cutting funding for ICE, we hope to reduce the number of people that get picked up and deported. By cutting funding for detention facilities, we hope to close down the tent cities and the detention camps we've seen expand under Trump. What does a more positive, humane immigration policy look like? Well, our partners at the National Immigrant Justice Center have put together a helpful resource of 5 investments that we can make if we're serious about dealing with the border crisis. 5 investments in our immigration system to address the crisis at the border. The White House has continued to pursue misguided and illegal deterrence strategies, including seeking billions for a border wall, at the same time as the White House just cut a deal with Congress for billions of additional dollars for so-called border security. The administration has used existing funds to try to shut down our current asylum system, cut off access at ports of entry, and lock up families and children. To be clear, the administration's chaotic and illegal immigration policies of deterrence and detention are making the situation worse, not better, and go against both our legal obligations and our values as Americans. Congress must reject additional misguided spending requests and instead insist that the administration invest in legal, common-sense solutions to the current humanitarian needs at the border. Following the 2019 funding bill, the Department of Homeland Security has more than enough funding to humanely, safely, efficiently process and support families and children at our borders. What's needed, and what the Trump administration has failed to actually put in place, is a holistic approach dealing with the drivers of migration in the region. 1. Establish regional refugee processing centers. Stop blocking asylum in the U.S. and strengthen the Mexican asylum system. Rather than blocking asylum seekers through the Remain in Mexico program, our government should work to strengthen the existing Mexican asylum system and invest in regional refugee processing in neighboring countries such as Belize, Costa Rica, and Panama. The United States should also reinstate an expanded Central American minors and refugee parole program, which could create an orderly way for children and families in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras to apply for protection in their home countries without having to make the dangerous journey to the United States. These measures should not come at the expense of access to the U.S. asylum system. The Trump administration's twin efforts to block access to asylum at ports of entry through metering and to force asylum seekers to wait for their hearings in dangerous cities at Mexico's northern border mean that more families, more children, and others feel they have no choice but to attempt to cross the border between ports of entry and present themselves to Border Patrol agents. This response is contributing to the humanitarian situation at the border by forcing many individuals to cross in between ports of entry. Number 2, modernize the ports of entry. DHS should ensure that all asylum seekers are treated humanely and efficiently processed at the ports of entry. The administration should modernize and ensure adequate staffing at ports of entry to efficiently, humanely, and expeditiously process asylum applicants and facilitate international trade and cross-border travel. Upgrading infrastructure and technology at ports of entry not only enables the United States to better manage the asylum and immigration process and promote trade and travel, but also improves border security, as a majority of dangerous drugs, including opioids, enter the country through ports of entry.